Hey guys, if you haven't watched the first part of the series, I highly recommend you go ahead and watch it to understand the story better. Thank you. Enjoy. King Von called Lil Durk to help him hide from the cops as he was a wanted man right now. And as you expected, Lil Durk agreed to help Von. He decided he will send some of his men to King Von's location to pick him up and bring him to his mansion. He went over and told his men to get ready, as Von was running out of time since the cops could caught up to him at any moment. The guards drove a bulletproof black SUV and immediately went to Von's location. Fortunately, Lil Durk's men arrived at the right moment as Von was still hiding. Von thanked God and went ahead to put the bag of the stolen cash on the trunk of the car, and then he got in and they immediately left the area. Everything was going as planned, until a cop saw the car and noticed that it was window tinted, and he decided to follow them to check if the car was bought like that or if the tint was added to the car. He immediately told his partner to follow him to their car, and they proceeded to follow the SUV. Durk's guard saw the cop car following them, so he knew he had to lose them. The cops, on the other hand, grew suspicious of them as they followed them. Durk's guard decided to enter a deserted parking spot in an attempt to lose the cops, but they still followed them inside anyways. They finally decided to stop the car. The cops stopped theirs too, and then proceeded to get out of the car and make their way towards the SUV. The first cop approached the driver's seat and started asking questions, while the other cop was behind him, ready for any possible threat. The cop asked him about his identity and asked him about the tinted glass, to which the guard replied that it came up with the car and that they didn't modify it or anything. The cop grew suspicious and told him that he wants everyone out of the car, now! Von was hiding in the back seat trying to not get caught. But he did the unthinkable. He shot at the cops before they could catch him. They immediately left the scene and went to Durk's mansion, leaving the cops to die there. After arriving and talking about what happened for hours, Durk told Von that there's no way out of this. You won't be able to live normally if you don't turn yourself in. He suggested that he turns himself in and he'll pay for his lawyers. And hopefully, he'll get a reduced sentence. Seeing that he had no choice, Von accepted it. Durk went ahead and called 911 and told them everything except for the death of the two officers. He only told them about the robbery and that Von is hoping to turn himself in. Cops told Durk to give them the location, and he gave it to them, and they said that they'll be with him in a short while. Durk told Von to get ready and throw away any weapon he has to not get in more trouble. King Von was arrested and stayed in jail for a couple of weeks awaiting trial along with T-Roy. Then the day of the trial came. Von and T-Roy were both charged with robbery, but Von was added an aggravated fleeing charge next to it. They brought out T-Roy first to the courtroom. The place was full, and everyone was ready to start. King Von on his turn came too. Durk was there too, along with some friends. King Von and T-Roy's families and friends were also attending the sentencing. Lawyers were ready as well, so the trial then could begin. T-Roy and Von were briefly seen speaking about their fate here, to which Von responded that everything gonna be okay, as him and Durk planned everything. The lawyers did their best to try to beat the charges against the both of them, doing the absolute possible to convince the judge to reduce the sentence as much as possible. While the judge was listening to the lawyers' stands, Von and T-Roy's families were nervous and expecting the worst as all the evidence were against them. Basically, there's no way out of this. The judge heard enough and finally made up his mind over the sentence. He sentenced T-Roy to 6 months in prison and 1 year of probation, and King Von sentenced to 1 year in prison and 1 year in probation. Shortly after the trial, King Von, T-Roy, and two other offenders were being transported to the Cook County Jail of Chicago on a prison bus. Von and T-Roy expected worse, to be honest. So the lawyers did a really good job to manage to get them this much time. Von and T-Roy were no strangers to prison's atmosphere, as they've been inside quite a few times. Other offenders probably gonna be happy to see them back, like D. Rose and other people from the Black Disciple Gang. However, the Gangster Disciple Gang won't be very happy about this, as they're their biggest enemies. Von and T-Roy couldn't give two damns about them. They've been beating them every day in prison. After they arrived, the guards were chuckling as they knew Von very much, and how much of a troublemaker he is. They began the protocol of cuffing them, and then taking them inside to capture their mugshots.
You can hold your special friend's hand, but that's it.
Von went inside first to get his mugshot captured. After Von's mugshot was taken, T-Roy was told to go next to get his mugshot as well. After that, they were both taken to their cells. Von and T-Roy started looking at the place as if it was their next home. They kind of missed it since it's been a while since they were arrested. Von told T-Roy that he's going to go outside to look for people whom they could recognize. He began looking around for his homies, but there was nobody, so he decided he'll go sit there to think about stuff while T-Roy's still inside. Two sketchy fellas who were definitely BDK spotted Von and began walking towards his location, trying to start something. They started pressuring him while telling him that he's a dead man and that he shouldn't have been here. They were grieving the loss of their homie Dale, who passed away shot to death by a possible Lamron member, to which Von was cool with. Von stood up to them, showing that he's not afraid of them. That's until the other guy pulled up a switchblade and seemed about to start something. That's when T-Roy sneaked in from behind, trying to not make a sound. And he went and choked the guy with the switchblade while Von knocked out the dude in front of him. T-Roy strangulated the other guy until he passed out due to lack of oxygen. Von picked up his switchblade and ran away before guards could take them to the SHU. One of the dude's homies came to help them get on their feet. The gang member was mad and made sure to not let this slide. He promised that he will eliminate Von and T-Roy before they could leave this place. Like and subscribe for part 3, guys. Bye!